What's up, guys? Welcome to I-90 Sports. What's up?
It's so much better now that we're champs.
Anything's possible!
We've never had a 4,000-yard passer, and we're the oldest franchise in the NFL.
Good little nugget that came out from a previous Patriots player that's still I would say still connected to the team in some ways. I would imagine he still talks to a lot of the guys
Sure.
they do hold him, hold a very high respect for him. And that's Rob Ninkovich.
Oh yeah.
And he came out and said that players had told, this is people in the organization and players had told a source. So this is he had said his exact quote was, sources had told him that. So when I see sources, JD, this is what I think of it, right? Sources to me means players and people in the organization. That's
what it should mean. Yeah.
That's what sources means to me. And he doesn't want to throw anybody's name out there, you know what I mean? So that's what that means to me. So according to Rob Ninkovich, sources have told him that Cam Newton was being taught the playbook by Mac Jones, their 15th overall pick. What is your initial response to that?
I mean, Cam Newton, who's been in this league he's been playing football for probably around 2 decades, and he's been in the NFL for a decade. And the fact that a early 23-year-old is teaching you,
literally just turned 23.
Also, you've not only that, but you've been on the team for a whole year. You've had a whole year to learn the playbook. It tells me this. It tells me that Cam, he may say all the right things, he may do a lot of the right things, but he doesn't do anything extra, and he clearly hasn't honed his craft over the years. That's what that tells me. He hasn't taken the time over the years, the extra time it takes to hone his craft, and like a lot of guys do, and I think that's a shame. How do you feel as a fan, somebody who's invested your time in rooting for Cam?
So here's my take on it, right? Even if that's half true, you know what I mean? Even if that statement is half true, even a little bit true, it's still a terrible look on Cam. It's still a bad look on Cam. A rookie, the 15th, the Patriots' first round pick, a rookie, a kid who's never seen an NFL field in his life. I mean, granted, he did play for Alabama, which is a pro-ready system, but still, he's never seen an NFL field in his life, and literally given the playbook that, they just handed the playbook and say, here you go, kid, study up. And he's teaching Cam the playbook and the reads and the calls at the line of scrimmage. Even if that's half true, that's a terrible look for Cam, if he's trying to get another job in the NFL.
And as impressive as that is for Mac Jones, if you're like the Patriots looking at it like, wow, he already learned the playbook and stuff like that, it is happening more and more these days in the NFL. So if you're another team looking at Cam Newton saying, okay, well, I want to bring you in as a backup, why would I bring you in even as a backup when you can't even learn the playbook after 2 years? And I know the Patriots have a complicated playbook, and I get that makes sense. But still, the fact that a rookie is learning the playbook before you are, it's definitely a problem. It's a huge problem. Oh, I like that. There you go. Let's see.
So it's just a bad look. Like I said, that it might not even be, even if it's half true. It's
he makes a bad backup now, too. Because backups are supposed to be, like you said last podcast, coaches on the field, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you don't know the playbook, how can you possibly help someone who knows the playbook better than you do? It's impossible.
No doubt. And it again, right? It harkens back to the reports that we saw last year, JD, that Newton had struggled with the at the line of scrimmage calls and just struggled with the playbook. Middle of the season, there were still quotes coming out from him that said he didn't quite understand it. And that's like, let's say let's call the middle of the season week 8 or 9. You know what I mean? That's the heart of the season. And he's still not still didn't quite grasp the audibles at the line of scrimmage, or even just like the hot routes. You know what I mean? If you see a blitz coming and you don't understand the hot route, the fact, I mean, I don't know which side that if it's like, let's say it's like I said, let's say it's half true. Does that
happen once?
Do you think that much lower of Newton, or does the fact that you see in a report like this drive home the fact that he's really not, the football IQ just isn't there? Or do you focus on the other side of it and go, wow, that's a pretty good, little check in the boxes that's a check in one of the boxes for Mac Jones, being like, he's already reading the playbook, understanding the audible calls, and grasping the offense, this early in his career. So
there's no question that it's good. There's no question that it's very, very, very good that he's doing that early. But what I would say, my response to that would be that this isn't if this were 2005, I'd say, wow, Mac Jones, he's like a phenom. He's learning the playbook just like that, so fast. But we've seen this happen over the last 7 or 8 years, where these rookies come in and they've already been running pro-style offenses since they were in high school. So they grasp onto it really fast. So this isn't something. Now, obviously, the Patriots, it's a little bit of both, obviously, to me, because the Patriots are a complicated offense. Josh McDaniels does have a complicated offense. You do have to be pretty smart to be able to run that and to be able to run it at a high level. So the fact that Mac Jones can do that's very, very impressive. On the other hand, Cam Newton, you're a veteran. You would think after all the years, you would know, things would start to look similar to you, and you'd adapt to them easier versus things are getting harder and other people are showing you up. So it's disappointing, and like you said, I don't see a place for him in the NFL anymore, because if you're not there with the football IQ, if the football IQ isn't there and the athleticism isn't there, as we've talked about ad nauseum on this podcast.
Over and over and over again.
The athleticism is gone, and the football IQ clearly isn't there. So it's just, I don't know. It is disappointing, and I think that Cam might need to go to the Canadian Football League. Honestly,
we've talked about we've talked about it in prior episodes about just that the lengths that they've gone to try and get Cam to understand how to read, how to make the correct read. We've just gone over that.
There's a lot of leaks too that came out of the Patriots camp, isn't there?
There's a bunch of there's all sorts of reports.
What was it that Cam he would leave early. He'd be one of the first guys to leave.
I just think the Patriots thought at the time that they could work with Cam and they could teach him I think here's what their thought process was. I think they went into this when they signed Cam and they brought him on, and they thought that they could, as long as he had the basic understanding of the offense, basic understanding of the Pats offense, they would be able to survive. But I think they learned real quick that it was just extremely tough for him to come to the line of scrimmage and make make the right hot reads. And it was just that they have one of the most complex offenses in the NFL, and he just had he had way harder of a time than they thought he would picking it up.
It'll kind of put the Cam stuff in a box, because now that he's off the team, you kind of don't have to talk about him as much anymore. I know somebody mentioned that in the chat. We've been talking about him too much. I get that. I totally feel you. But the final thing I would ask about Cam, to you, where would be a good fit for him?
See, I don't know. Maybe Houston, maybe the Texans. I mean, they got Tyrod Taylor down there.
I would rather have Tyrod Taylor though, to be honest.
I mean, at least it.
I would, because he can make a lot of plays, and Cam, I don't know. I'm not sure.
That's the problem that he's going to run into is, I would have said at the beginning of the year, the Bears maybe, but they got Justin Fields, so they have their, kind of future set up. I would have said the Dolphins, but I think they're kind of hellbound on seeing on whether, I think they're hellbound this season on seeing what they have in Tua and if he can make it or not.
There's more young quarterback talent than we've had in a long time, maybe ever. So that's Cam's problem too, is that you're competing with so many different people now. You got a lot of people to compete with. Dude, only 3 teams wanted. You remember that Tom Brady during Brady Watch? 3 teams wanted him.
I know.
6 Super Bowls. What?
I know.
5 Super Bowls.
He's gonna. And here's the thing with Cam. So to just end this, to kind of just wind down the Cam talk. He doesn't want to. If he wants to stay in this league, I think he's going to have to take a backup role. I do. I don't see him. I mean,
but who would want him as a backup?
But that's the other thing too is the market has to be there for him, and I don't know. I just don't.
You need a young quarterback who doesn't really need help with the playbook, and I don't know. I don't know where to get.
I mean, the Texans were the only one that I could come up with that actually have, that would maybe go to Washington with Rivera.
Carolina,
maybe. Maybe go to Washington with Ron Rivera and kind of reunite there, but I mean, he's on the back end of his career. He's slowed way down. We've already talked about this ad nauseum.
We're not